Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for the support in the first part. It means a lot to me. So, here we are for the second part. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about what Highlander can do from neutral, when to backstep light, lesser known techs related to emoting and offensive lights, and finally, the ill-fated Highlander vs Shinobi matchup. Here are the timecodes if you want to learn about something specific. I'm also sorry for the way life is full of unexpected outcomes. Let's get to it. Kick to grab. Something very important I forgot to talk about in the last part is who can be caught by Highlander's kick to grab. Note that some characters can counter your offensive mix-ups if they dodge early, so always go for it when you just have frame advantage. Kick to grab will catch Warden, Conk, Lawbringer, PK, Raider, Shinobi on single dodge or hit stun, Nobushi with hit stun, and also JJ, but only with the infamous triple feint and heavy hit stun. Oh. I heard that with the dodge changes, some dodge attacks are now getting caught like Aphira's, but I haven't experienced it myself, so feel free to try it. Every other matchup will require you to heavily adapt to your opponent and make great use of your kit. Backstep tech. Backstep light into offensive stance is your safest tool to make distance and get your offense. Be very cautious when doing it, since certain characters, mostly hybrids and assassins, have a walk speed fast enough to catch the light. There are specific moments when you can safely backstep light, for example, after counter guard breaking. You can also relock backstep light to cover more distance, as shown here. If your opponent is used to you getting in your stance by a backstep light, it's time to use those hyper armor heavies or your chain light. Note that your chain light has enough hit stun for you to kick before their untub hits you. Some heroes such as Warlord, Black Prior, Magik in dual form, Conk, and others have a bash fast enough to punish your backstep light. If they tend to light you out, you can also quickly stance cancel, like explained on the last episode, to get a free light parry. When against a hero that can catch your backstep light and is just staring at you, waiting for you to throw an attack, you can hold heavy to get in your stance and quickly get out to bait a reaction. Try also throwing random backstep heavies to throw them off. These, of course, are not the only solutions to every matchup, and adapting to your opponent's playstyle plays a major role. After a mix-up, you could also offensive backstep light since it has a lot of backward movement and shorter recovery than a regular back dodge. It's a safe way to avoid getting attacked while waiting for your stamina to fill up. Offensive backstep light cancel if you want to bait a dodge forward heavy. Feel free to mess around with it and you'll find a lot of things that you'll be able to bait just by doing that. As Highlander, patient players, or as we call them turtles, are your biggest enemy. Since you don't have any openers and your entire kit can be countered with anything, again, make great use of it and try use all the knowledge that you gather with every match. Guard swapping OS lights, magic tech, fake guards, switch tech, I don't know, call it whatever. This one is extremely useful when playing against top reaction players. There are two different ways to do it and each has their uses. They will require you to be very precise with your inputs, so I'd recommend taking some time to practice this in training mode, because if you miss the timing by a small amount, you'll get stuck in a very long recovery. Let me demonstrate them first. As you saw, they fulfill the same purpose, but they're still very different. I'll explain the opener way, as it's the easiest option in my opinion. You know how you can sort of twerk while spamming the offensive emote? Well, it's literally just that, but once and pressing light. It's fairly simple, but as I said before, if you dare miss the timing by a tiny bit, you'll get stuck for a second in your stance and not be able to do anything. As far as I know, it's mostly used in competitive, so you'll rarely have to use it in regular matchmaking. Now for the in-chain. Actually, I have no idea how to explain it clearly with words, so I'm going to let the animation do the job. It can take some time to get the rhythm down, but you'll get it with some timing training. Don't overuse it and feel free to switch sides. Mix them with the offensive emote and heavies to confuse your opponent. If you want a great demonstration of these techs, I'd recommend watching Mr. Magic Trick, since he's a competitive player and is also planning to release a guide soon. His links are in the description. Give him a sub, he definitely deserves it. Now let's talk about matchups. One matchup that was requested quite often was Highlander vs Shinobi. I gathered some knowledge from a few high-level Highlanders, and notably Uncle Rev. Here's the knowledge I gathered. Shinobi will always be a tough matchup no matter what you do, but Highlander can still hold his own with the right knowledge and game plan. Assuming you can react to Shinobi's bash, you can get an easy health lead and then try him to maintain your offense by poking with offensive lights, which will punish the Shinobi from trying to get into his own offense. By doing this, you're also keeping frame advantage, thus making your offensive mix-ups more viable. If you happen to dodge Shinobi's kick whilst you're in offensive stance, you can throw an unblockable for free as he's backflipping, since it has way better tracking and reach than the kick. You could also go for a kick to grab, but be aware that Shinobi can counter this if they adapt. You can also throw off your opponent by delaying attacks. Mix in your emote to catch dodges like explained in the last part. Adapting to Shinobi's playstyle plays a massive role, as is the case with all matchups. Highlander will require you to be smarter and more patient than your opponent, so keep learning and have fun. Thank you very much for watching this far. If you have any questions, feel free to ask it in the comments, or directly add me on Discord. We reached over 700 subs and almost 6,000 views on the first part. I hope you like the content and feel free to drop a sub or a like if you want to see more. Thanks again, and take care.